This is the new Jawa, and this Jawa has rolled off the production line, so it's not a prototype, it's not hand built, and which means that there are no excuses that come with the motorcycle. Now, we've been riding this motorcycle for a while, and here are 5 things that work in its favor and 2 that don't. Now, one of the strongest points for the Jawa, in our opinion, is the way it looks. It is completely true to the original, and then it's got fantastic proportions. It's also got all those elements that remind you of the original Jawa. You've got this domed headlamp, you've got these large side panels, you've got a raked out front, and you have so much chrome. Chrome on the tank, chrome on the engine, chrome on the exhaust, and all of it just, instead of making the bike gaudy, it just makes it look really good. It makes you go all gooey in the heart, and you can't help but really like the way the motorcycle looks. Now, the Jawa isn't exactly a really large motorcycle, but for me, I'm 5'9", it works. It's easy to swing a leg over thanks to low seat height, and as you can see, I can firmly put my both feet on the ground. And then when I take my feet up to the foot pegs, it's not really rear set or forward set, it's pretty neutral. Handlebars are easy to reach, and the seat, handlebar, foot peg, the triangle, it works both for comfort and for control. So it's not really swinging either side, it's a good compromise. But then, if you get a taller rider on board, let me get Pratik. So now when Pratik sits on the motorcycle, he's over 6 feet. You can see that for him, the seating is really cramped. And which, if you're a really tall rider, you need to get on the motorcycle and see whether it works for you or it doesn't. Apart from being easy to mount with a low seat height and the seating ergonomics being really good, at least for me, the Jawa is also surprisingly easy to ride. Now, you'd think that with 170 kgs and a fairly long wheelbase and that really raked out front, I think it's about 28 degrees, you'd think that the Jawa is a lazy motorcycle, it's a slow steering motorcycle, and so it'll be an uninteresting thing to ride. But it isn't. Handling, in fact, is one of the strong traits of the new Jawa, especially around the tight and twisty stuff. It also feels quite at home filtering through traffic in the city. It feels light and nimble on its feet, and it changes directions like a much smaller, lighter motorcycle would. The turn-in is quick, and it doesn't fight quick direction changes, which makes the Jawa a hoot to ride around tight twisties. Even when leaned over, no matter if the surface is smooth or bumpy, it doesn't exactly wallow, skip or move around. It just holds its line, feels stable, and communicates with you wholeheartedly. That's until you come to a fast, open corner, because then the bike seems it's out of its depth, and you lose the connection that you need to feel confident going around the corner with the motorcycle. Now, the Jawa uses a 300cc single cylinder engine. Now, it might not look it with all the fins, but it is liquid cooled, and it also gets fuel injection. It's also mated to a slick shifting 6-speed gearbox, so in that sense it's pretty modern. It sounds good too. It has a brawny exhaust note being played at a low octave. But the Jawa isn't very powerful. However, that also means it doesn't feel intimidating, and that new riders or guys upgrading from scooters or 125 or 150cc motorcycles will find the motorcycle quite friendly. Moreover, the throttle is light and crisp. There's good mid-range performance, and the bike is happy sitting at 100 km per hour in 6th gear all day long. The gear shifts are light and precise as well, and the clutch pull won't leave you with aching wrists or palms. The engine has decent go at the top end, and it doesn't mind being revved. The low end though isn't all that punchy, but with closely stacked gear ratios, it ensures that you remain in the meat of the power band most of the time. The downside of this, of course, are frequent gear changes, which one has to make as a result. The new Jawa is also quite happy taking on the rough stuff. You can jump it, and courtesy the old school cycle parts, there's less to damage. It will also go over rocks and grass and is good for fooling around off-road. It has its limitations, of course, given its limited suspension travel and the lack of ground clearance, but then it has a bash plate, so we might as well use it. But the ride is a mixed bag. The ride feels stiff-kneed at lower speeds, but it gets better as the going gets quicker. Even when the road surface deteriorates quite significantly, the front goes over it like a boss. The rear, though, struggles at times, skipping about and kicking its rider in the back. As far as braking goes, the Jawa now gets dual-channel ABS. There's also a rear disc brake, and this has helped the overall braking ability of the bike significantly. The seat on the Jawa doesn't just look thin, it actually is, and it lacks the right firmness to offer comfortable seating, especially over longer rides. In fact, 10 minutes in and you will feel the lack of cushioning. Now, if you're light, maybe it won't be such a big problem, but if you are well fed, like me, well, chances are you won't like the seat very much. Now, I get this whole retro vibe that Classic Legends has gone for with the Jawa, but I think it's been a little too retro. There should have been some amount of new modern elements in the motorcycle. Neo-retro would have been nicer. So even though instrumentation's got a bit of digital readout, there is absolutely no information in there apart from the odo. It could have been better designed too. You can't read it when you're riding properly, especially if it's lower down. Headlamp could have had some amount of LED elements in them to help with lighting and to add that zing to the Jawa's character. And to expect tubeless tires, over spoke trim, adjustable levers would be like asking for the moon, but having mirrors that are actually usable and a fuel cap that is easy to use would have been a great add-on. Now, the new Jawa retails for a little over 2 lakhs on the road, and for this money you get a motorcycle that's really good looking. It's one that pulls or tugs at your heartstrings. You've got a motorcycle with a suspension or cycle parts that work on almost all sorts of roads. You get a motorcycle that has a fairly modern engine. It's got fuel injection, it's got liquid cooling, and you've got a motorcycle that is easy to ride. So even if you're upgrading from a 125 or 150cc motorcycle, the 300 does not seem like it won't overwhelm you in any way. But then it lacks some really important feel-good features, and it doesn't have strong USPs. Now, when you consider that the competition for the Jawa is a really strong brand in Royal Enfield Classic 350 or the Bullet 350, and you realize that Jawa, even though it's a good product, it has an uphill task on its hands.